My monologue today is about the supposedly evil Fox News, at least in the eyes of its cable rival CNN. I should note that while I regularly appear on Fox News, CNN and MSNBC rarely ask, I do not and have never worked for Fox. On one recent Saturday morning, though, I watched the CNN Michael Smerconish show. I've always thought of him as a more fair than most, at least by CNN standards. For example, Smerconish interviewed me during my campaign for governor and introduced me as a Trump Republican, his term. To this I said, I am a Republican. I voted for Romney in 12. I voted for McCain in 08. Was I supposed to vote for Hillary or Joe Biden? Why call me a Trump Republican, I told him, unless the label is designed to disparage my candidacy. He apologized. Like I said, Smerconish is more fair than most. But on this Saturday show, Smerconish teed off on Fox News for supposedly promoting the Donald Trump conspiracy theory that the 2020 election was stolen. According to Smerconish, and based on court documents from the defamation lawsuit filed against Fox by Dominion Voting Systems, Fox knew what CNN referred to as the big lie was in fact false, yet allegedly knowingly pushed it. Shame, 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 argued Smerconish. How dare Fox act in such a reckless, partisan way? Now let's put aside the lawsuit for a second. Because of the vile election deniers, Smerconish said, democracy was at stake. As the show continued, I couldn't take very much more. So I took to Twitter and I sent to Smerconish a series of public tweets about CNN's blatant left-wing partisanship. I made the following points. Smerconish, in a public forum, told then CEO of CNN, Jeff Zucker, that CNN looked partisan by dismissing the Hunter Biden laptop story as Russian disinformation. Zucker, though, admitted no wrongdoing and defended the dismissal of that story.
In controversy that you may think are let me give you an example. I believe they know this because I talked about it on air. I think that the Hunter laptop was worthy of more airing than it received right before the election. Either of you agree with me on that? Do you regret, how about if I ask it this way specifically, do you regret not dealing with it before the election?
Well, I mean, I think the question is, we did deal with it, but to the degree that, you would have thought was appropriate. I think the answer is in the final 2 weeks, it was looked at. We did not know enough about it. There was not within 2 weeks of the election, the ability when the messenger on that story was Rudy Giuliani. Okay? No, that's the problem. It's like you're going to give a lot of legitimacy to Rudy Giuliani delivering, he's got the goods. So part of the issue with that story was who was delivering the goods. Okay? That's one. That doesn't mean that we didn't look into it. We did look into it. But first of all, with regard to the son of the candidate, he was the son of the candidate. He wasn't the candidate. The question that you'll come back with is, well, but what role did the candidate play in his business dealings? Frankly, with 10 days or 2 weeks to go, it was looked at by very credible organizations, including the Wall Street Journal, Rupert Murdoch's Wall Street Journal, and they found nothing at that time. Okay? So my point is, it's easy to say we should have spent more time on that. Listen, do I think it's legitimate to look at? Sure. Do I think that it's a legitimate criticism to say that in the 10 days, 14 days prior to the election, you didn't spend enough time on it? Not really.
What do you think?
He was never arrested. The Justice Department was looking into it, never reported it until he is. He's the son of a candidate. I don't think it's a main story until that happens. Now, we looked into it. NBC News did. Tom Winter and Ken DeLorean did a great job. They met with Rudy. He brought a couple of pages printed out from the so-called from the computer. They asked for a digital copy of it. They didn't get it. But I don't think it was a big story before the election because he was never found. He was never charged with it.
Hey, Michael, let me ask you: in the 2 weeks before the election, when that came out, I don't remember the exact timing.
I think 11 days before.
11 days. Okay, 11 days. So you probably had 2 shows prior to the election on CNN. right?
Right, one, but two, yeah.
Well, okay, whatever. Did you cover it?
No. I talked about it.
Hold on. Did I tell you not to cover it?
Definitely not.
Okay.
Did I?
Hold on. Why didn't you cover it?
I talked about it extensively on, I guess part of this.
No. We're not talking about radio. We're talking about CNN.
I'm gonna give you an answer.
Okay. So my point is, though, you're saying you had the opportunity to do it and you didn't do it.
I regret it.
Okay.
I regret it. I talked about it. I talked about it extensively on radio, but no, Jeff's right. I didn't, and I second guess myself now. I don't think it's a huge story.
Right.
I don't think it's a huge story, but I think I look bad by not talking about it at all. I should have said something about the damn issue. That's what I'm talking about.
But you didn't know all the facts at the time either.
No, but I think that we looked partisan by not giving it some airing.
Yeah, I think you got to. I don't disagree with that, but I think you have to be careful to just because somebody throws a smoke bomb into the arena I think listen, it is worth real examination, but in the 11 days prior to the election, it involves the son of a candidate who clearly has issues and troubles. What is the extent to which you should do it? We reported on it, but we didn't report on it to the degree that you're saying you thought would have been proper. Okay, that's fine.
Do you regret giving Trump as much air as you gave him in 2016?
Of course I do. I've admitted this publicly. I've said so. Now I don't believe that's why he became president of the United States. It's like, I had a lot of power, but I didn't have that much power. And so, yes, of course, I think that we made a mistake. And
did you then try to compensate for it thereafter?
And what's that? I don't understand the question.
By giving him a hell of a lot less, or by changing the way
but then he
in
was
which
president of the United States.
Right,
so,
but there seemed to have been a tonal shift after his election. Is that fair?
CNN's dismissal of the laptop story as disinformation changed the outcome of the election, according to a survey conducted by a New Jersey-based organization called Technometrica Institute of Policy and Politics. Did that undermine our democracy, Mr. Smerconish? Then you have Project Veritas. They published an undercover video of CNN staffer complaining that Zucker, quote, has a personal vendetta against Trump and that Trump is a man Zucker hates and Zucker effing tells you what to do. Partisanship, Mr. Smerconish? CNN falsely reported that the $400 million, not $300 million as CNN reported, spent by Zuckerberg in 2020 was for, quote, enhancing access to voting, close quote. No, the money was targeted to enhance access to Democrat-likely voters and help Biden and hurt Trump. Was democracy at stake, sir? Do you think CNN's 2-year promotion of the bogus Trump-Russia collusion put democracy at stake? About obstruction of justice, the Mueller report said, and I'm quoting, "We investigated a series of actions by the president towards the investigation. Based on the DOJ policy and principles of fairness, we decided we would not make a determination as to whether the president committed a crime," end of quote. As to the allegation of a Trump-Russia conspiracy of election interference, the report said this, and I'm quoting, "The investigation did not establish that members of the Trump campaign conspired with the Russian government in its election interference activities," end of quote. Yet CNN pushed it and pushed it and pushed it. CNN also routinely used the term big lie to attack election so-called conspiracy theorists about 2020. Now, when Dems call their election stolen, or that they lost because of voter suppression, or because the Supreme Court selected the president, as argued by Hillary Clinton, Georgia gubernatorial candidate Stacey Abrams, respectively, watch this.
As I've been telling candidates who have come to see me, you can run the best campaign, you can even become the nominee, and you can have the election stolen from you.
I believe he knows he's an illegitimate president. He knows.
Now, about the 2000 Bush v. Gore presidential contest, Former Virginia governor and former chair of the DNC, Terry McAuliffe, said, and I'm quoting him, "I wish the United States Supreme Court had let them finish counting the votes," end of quote, in 2000. Has CNN called any of these Democrats election deniers? And it's not as if Trump's legal challenges had no merit. In July 2022, I wrote, "Former President Donald Trump felt robbed, understandably so." NPR's Domenico Montanaro said just 44,000 votes in Georgia, Arizona, and Wisconsin separated Biden and Trump from a tie in the Electoral College. Let's just look at 3 states. The Michigan Secretary of State used COVID-19 as an excuse to send a mail-in ballot application to every registered voter, whether or not that voter requested an application for a mail-in ballot. True, Trump lost a lawsuit against Michigan when the Michigan Supreme Court refused to take up the case, leaving the Michigan Court of Appeals ruling in place. But in that 2-1 ruling on procedural grounds, Judge Patrick Meter dissented, arguing that the, quote, issues are not moot because state electors have not yet been seated, the Electoral College has not yet been assembled, and Congress has not yet convened, end of quote. He argued that the state should have taken the case up on the merits. Let's turn to Pennsylvania. Numerous rules and regulations were violated, including allowing election officials to accept some ballots after Election Day. 2 prominent liberal professors, Harvard's Alan Dershowitz and George Washington University's Jonathan Turley, both suggested that Trump's lawsuit against that state had merit. And about Pennsylvania's acceptance of ballots after Election Day, Dershowitz said, and I'm quoting Dershowitz, "The Constitution doesn't permit anybody in the state but the legislature to make decisions about elections," end of quote. Turley wrote, quote, "Pennsylvania remains a rich environment for challenges. Judicial changes ordered to the state law have raised fierce objections. The issues in Pennsylvania may involve mail ballots without postmarks and the rejection of those with signature mismatches. The lawsuits over officials curing defective ballots and letting ineligible voters fill out ballots, actions that could knock out small pockets which could change the results," end of quote. About Wisconsin, the Wisconsin Supreme Court, also on procedural grounds, ruled against Trump 4-3. But the Chief Justice of that court, in a dissent, argued, among other things, that the use of drop boxes violated the law. Chief Justice Patience Roggensack wrote, and I'm quoting her, "The WEC, that stands for Wisconsin Election Commission, the WEC ignores that legislature provided only one act an election official may take in regard to a defective witness address: mail the defective ballot back to the elector to correct the error," end of quote. Indeed, she writes, in July 2022, the Wisconsin Supreme Court, in a 4-3 decision, disallowed the use of drop boxes, except those placed at election offices where only the actual voter could drop off their own ballot, end of quote. Now, I dared Schmerkanish to interview Trump lawyer John Eastman, a former dean and law professor at Chapman University School of Law in California, as I recently did for this show. Eastman faces disbarment for his, quote, strategy unsupported by facts or law to overturn the legitimate results of the 2020 presidential election, close quote. What's that? The great Eldersky has a pair of my slippers in his baby brown libertarian fingers, and you can get a pair as well. Mine is in beautiful tan. You may want a different color. You can also get a different style. Also, there's now the MyPillow 2.0. This isn't that one. Mine is on order. But now there's the MyPillow 2.0, even nicer than this one. There are over 100 products. Call the number on your screen or go to MyPillow.com, promo code ELDER. And this is the 6-pack towels that work, meaning they are absorbent. They absorb the water, which is what you want towels to do. They come in different colors. MyPillow.com, promo code ELDER, or call the number on your screen. Did I mention that there are over 100 products? And finally, this is the Giza Dream Bedsheet. Giza is in Egypt. It's where the finest cotton in the world is found. Different colors. Mine is in white because, after all, I am the black face of white supremacy, but you are not. you may want a different color. And of course, they come in different sizes. MyPillow.com, promo code ELDER, or call the number on your screen. Here's what he said when I recently talked to him about this.
My arguments aren't foreclosed by existing precedent. The issue of the role of the vice president as opposed to Congress in deciding contested electoral slates is one that remains open. There's historical precedent by a number of presidents, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, Richard Nixon, who exercised that authority without Congress. In fact, if you look at the founding documents, they were much more concerned about Congress having a definitive role in the choosing of the president, because that would make the president subservient to the Congress. It's why they created the Electoral College and why they have the state legislatures and the vice president have the deciding roles rather than Congress itself. So these are not only not frivolous arguments, they're well grounded. Even if at the end of the day I would lose if the court would take it up, right. They're certainly well grounded in historical precedent, scholarly research, and legislative history.
Now, to be sure, Eastman's arguments were not accepted by the courts. But since when do lawyers risk disbarment for committing the sin of advocacy on behalf of an unpopular client, whether that client is the Boston Marathon bombers, the terrorists held in Gitmo, O.J. Simpson, or Donald Trump? I also told this to Mr. Smirkanis. He and CNN host Jake Tapper admitted 2 years after the fact that Trump referred to the debate over displaying Confederate monuments in the public square when he said there were very fine people on both sides. Yet, CNN still let Biden and others go on that network after Tapper and after Smirkanis had corrected the record and still lie about what Trump said and what Trump meant, with no pushback by the hosts.
And remember what the president said when asked? He said there were, quote, very fine people on both sides.
I also wrote this to Mr. Smirkanis in a tweet. In a 2016 poll, the number one reason likely voters gave for disliking Trump is that he mocked a disabled reporter. No, he didn't. I wrote this back in June of 2022. First off, the reporter in question's name is Serge Kowaleski, does not flail his arms as did Trump when he made fun of him. Kowaleski has a condition described by Hopkins Medicine as a variety of conditions involving multiple joint contractures or stiffness. It may be unable to fully, partially extend or bend, end of quote. The reporter does not gyrate as did Trump when he mocked the reporter. Kowaleski is in fact a calm and steady speaker. Second, Trump for years has used the very same mocking gesture to ridicule himself, to ridicule an able-bodied general, as shown by videos on a website called CatholicsForTrump.com.
I don't know what I said. I don't remember.
Investors Business Daily published a commentary with the headline, Fake News, Trump did not mock a disabled reporter, and other lies from the left. The article read, and I'm quoting, the truth is, Trump has often used those same convulsive gestures to mimic the mannerisms of people, including himself, who are rattled and exasperated, close quote. Mr. Smirkanis, has CNN ever bothered to correct the record? I also tweeted this. During my campaign for California governor, I was interviewed by CNN's Joe Johns, after which CNN said I was wrong to say that the young, healthy did not need to be vaccinated.
I don't believe the science suggests that young people should be vaccinated. I don't believe the science suggests that young people should have to wear masks at school. I'm not sure the science has settled on that at all. And young people are not likely to contract the coronavirus. And when they do, their symptoms are likely to be mild, and they're not likely to be hospitalized, and they're certainly not likely to die.
The science says he's wrong on several counts. Millions of children have tested positive for COVID-19. They're being hospitalized, and masks are proven to prevent the spread of the virus.
Never mind the new study reported in the respected Lancet that found natural immunity from infection to be at least as high, if not higher, than that provided by 2 doses of an mRNA COVID vaccine. Where's the apology, CNN? How many suffered adverse reactions? How many businesses were bankrupt, jobs lost? What about the increase in depression, suicide, domestic violence, child abuse? I also tweeted this. It doesn't take an expert to note that Biden did not take the cognitive test that the media and Dems all but demanded in the case of Trump. Will CNN accuse Biden's doctor of promoting, wait for it, the big lie about Biden's health? Or that the doctors are engaging in a cover-up with democracy at stake? But, Mr. McConish, CNN, of course, is not biased, not partisan, not riddled with news hosts as opposed to opinion hosts who double as Democrat activists. And that's the elder statement. Now hit that like button because I know you like the show. And be sure to subscribe. We're trying to increase our subscriber base. Also scroll down, get on our mailing list because every now and then, for reasons that escape us, our vids are not appreciated by YouTube. To make sure you do not miss any of our videos, get on our mailing list. Also, you see the donate button? Hit that, throw a little something in the tip jar. Make sure we can continue giving you great programming. And finally, Larry with epoch.com, Larry with epoch.com. I'm Larry Elder. This is the Larry Elder Show for Epoch Times. Remember, we've got a country to save. I'll see you next time.